So what is the future of the audiovisual sector in Europe? It's a really ambitious question to answer, and there is no answer at the moment. But around me, there are people who can really give a sense of how an answer could feel like. I'm Elias Nikolaidis. I work as a senior editor for an independent think tank, diaNEOsis. We're going to talk about the audiovisual sector in Europe currently, which is undergoing a significant change, transformation anywhere in the world. So I should introduce the speakers today. It's Mr. Yatromanolakis. He's Deputy Minister of Culture responsible for modern culture. It's Mr. Leonidas Christopoulos. He's Secretary General of the Ministry in the Ministry of Digital Governance. It's Mr. Alex Long, Regional Director of Public Policy at Netflix. It's Mr. Giacomo Lev Mannheimer, Head of Government Relations and Public Policy for Southern Europe for TikTok. And we're expecting Konstantinos Kontovrakis, who is a producer with HERETIC Productions, and also a secretary for the Independent Producers Union. So, as an introduction, before I give the floor to the speakers, I should say that there's a huge transformation happening right now. New ways of production, distribution of content, but also new ways of narrative, new ways of storytelling. And of course, it's a sector that is growing, not in all of its sides, but it's not the same. It's not growing in a uniform way, let's say, but it's growing. Countries are competing with each other by giving incentives for attracting big productions, which benefits, but they're also trying to empower their local production ecosystems and train professionals for this challenge. So, Europe has done some steps of regulating this new landscape in audiovisual sector. But of course, as happens in many aspects of life nowadays, changes and challenges come up every day. So, I should give the floor to Deputy Minister Yatromanolakis, and I should ask, where's Greece now, and how do you observe and face all these changes? Is the general context enough, sufficient? What is the strategy of the country in this field?
Thank you, and thank you for this invitation. Well, I think, first of all, what you said before is exactly right. This is a sector that has been changing and evolving. I don't think that a few years ago we would have a panel on audiovisual having, for example, TikTok in our company, but yes, we do, because there is a, you see this blend of different technologies, of different formats of content, and of different platforms, or even different devices. And we all know that usually public policy lags a bit behind developments in technology and behind the market. So there's always this chase that you feel that you have to go after, to improve things and to create a framework that is necessary for things to function. First of all, I would say that from a policy perspective, first of all, in the audiovisual sector, you have this peculiarity where the state is, from one side, let's say, the regulator, setting the framework and the rules for things to happen. But at the same time, especially if we're using the European paradigm and not the American, it's also a producer itself of content. Most European countries have a film center, for example. The incentives that you touched upon is a tool, again, provided by the state in order to, to give support to this sector. So you have this peculiarity on this. And there, I think, it's very important for a country to have a clear strategy of what it wants to achieve. So, for example, in my head, it's very different to say, I want films to be filmed in Greece than saying, I want to film Greek films. These are not the same thing, and I think a country should focus on both, and definitely not do one on the expense of the other. The other thing is that incentives are necessary, are something like a prerequisite nowadays. Most countries have and I'm sure Leonidas will expand on this, so I will not talk about that. But experience has shown that it is not enough. It is not enough because it can attract production for the first time, but if the experience of the producers is not a positive one, if other components are not there, incentives will not suffice. So we need to be working on things like skill building for the people of the industry, so upskilling existing crews and existing people, improving our content, but also creating a next generation of people of the industry. The other thing is simplifying processes. So how do you shoot a film or a series? How do you do that? Is it easy? Do you need like a ton of permits? How complicated it can be? And then you have also things like how do you protect intellectual property? You fight piracy, and at the end of the day, how you create good content, which is the important thing, no matter what kind of format you're talking about or platform, be it TikTok or Netflix or a linear TV station or film. Also, we should not forget that from a state perspective, we should see how the digital transformation and the pandemic have changed the model of distribution, and this has threatened the theatrical release. So right now, movie theaters around the world are in jeopardy. So part of the strategy is also how you regulate this windowing and have this chronology of how content is being shown in different venues or platforms digitally in order to maintain also the theatrical release. So I'll stop here, and then maybe I can talk about what measures we're taking on this respect.
Okay, so I would like to turn to Mr. Christopoulos now, to the Secretary General. You're responsible for ECOME, which is the body that implements the incentive, which started in 2017. So you have the relevant experience. How can a modern framework for attracting investment of in the audiovisual sector look like? And not only for TV or film, but also for applications, for video games. Incentives are also valid for these sectors as well.
First, let me thank you as well for participating in this very interesting panel. I think that the fact that I've been coming to the Delphi Economic Forum for about 4 or 5 years, I think it's the first time that there is a panel about the audiovisual sector, which shows that a lot of work and a lot of energy has been put on this very dynamic and innovative sector of the economy. And we always say it, and I will keep saying that, the minister says it as well. It was a very good idea that came from the former government, and an idea that we would try to improve. I'm talking about the cash rebate and the ECOME, to improve, because we saw that what was happening all around the world was moving towards that direction, and Greece did not have a scheme to attract investments in this very dynamic policy sector. Now, I would completely agree with the minister that incentives are never the only part of the story. They are very significant. They are things that investors always assess when they want to make an investment in a country. But as the minister said, we need the reskilling and upskilling agenda. We want, of course, and that is very, very very important, the simplification of procedures. because at the end of the day, a producer that comes to invest and make a project in Greece will face the bureaucracy that Greece has in many other policy areas, this one included as well. We have already done a very big work in trying to assess the different permits and licenses that one needs to shoot a film, to do a project in Greece, and together with the Ministry of Culture, we will try and see how we can simplify this, this environment. However, I'm here to talk about the cash rebate scheme and generally the incentives that we have in Greece. As you know, when we came to power, we decided that the cash rebate should be increased to a 40% cash rebate from 35% that was the previous scheme, and we also simplified the process in order for the projects to be approved. That, I think, gave the signal to the international market that we are very serious about this, this policy area, this business that we're talking about, the audiovisual sector. So we started having an increase in investments, and I can tell you that until March 2022, until recently, we already have 185 projects amounting to almost 100 million of cash rebate that have either come and completed projects in Greece, or that they want to come, and we have already approved their applications to come to Greece. And then of course, we're talking about big projects as well, big Hollywood projects, a lot of series, TV series like Tehran, who is also nominated for awards, like Lost Daughter, like Beckett from Netflix, and various big projects. Of course, we also have the tax relief scheme, which is another incentive for businesses in the audiovisual sector to come. Hello, Mr. Kontovrakis. And we also have a new scheme that I don't know if many people have seen it or have assessed it. It is a guarantee fund for banking loans of about 65 million through the development bank of the Ministry of Development. So people who want to get a loan in the audiovisual sector to invest on their companies, either to start or to grow their companies, they can go to the banks and take a loan with state guarantee for the audiovisual sector, which is another incentive and another support that we're giving the audiovisual sector. Generally, I think, and because we had a legal a law that was passed last week, the success of the scheme is that we are responsive. Whenever there is a problem in the scheme, we are responsive. We hear the producers, we hear the people in the market, and we try to solve the problem of the audiovisual sector. And that, I think, has been appreciated by the market, either internationally or nationally, and that is why the cash rebate scheme has been successful for the past 2 years.
Great, thank you. So I would like to jump a bit the line as you see us here, and because both the Minister and the Secretary General spoke about mainly film and TV, we have here the supply side, an executive from Netflix, Mr. Alex Long. So what is your perspective, and how do you see Greece implementing all these incentives? And in general, what can countries do to benefit from this ongoing transformation in the audiovisual sector, which Netflix is leading in a way, in many ways?
Thank you so much. Thanks for the kind words, Elias. Thanks everyone for having me at the Delphi Forum. It's my first time at the forum. It's been a real pleasure so far, and looking forward to the discussion. As a number of speakers so far have said, we're really in a golden age, a very exciting period of audiovisual production, both for consumers having lots of choice, great content to watch, but also producers, creators of content. And we're seeing, particularly given the focus on Europe, we're seeing immense creativity from the sector across the continent. One data point I find interesting is that about 10% of TV series come from the internationally available streaming services in Europe, whereas the remaining 90% is from the broadcasters and their subscription video on demand services. Within that context, Netflix, we say, really pioneered the emphasis on local content among the international services for really since the beginning of our operations in Europe. We've been focusing on investing in local content in an increasing number of countries in Europe. We're very proud and excited to work with hundreds of creators and producers in Europe. If we look at the top 10 website, so Netflix has a relatively new top 10 site where you can explore what's popular in specific countries and also globally. We see regular examples of European content that's loved not only in Europe but also around the world. We have just recently a show from Denmark, The Chestnut Man, was loved everywhere. We have Dark from Germany, which many people have loved. Of course, we have Lupin and La Casa de Papel from France and Spain. And of course, we have a lot of film at Netflix. We have Hand of God from Italy, which has been widely loved and critically acclaimed. So tons of excitement, tons of momentum. I would also just add, while we're focusing on entertaining our members and giving increasing variety of great European content to our members, there's also some exciting impacts on what we call cultural affinity and tourism promotion. So when someone watches content that's not from their home country on Netflix, they're increasingly excited about wanting to travel there. They're also excited about wanting to study the language of the content that they're watching. We surveyed about 80,000 people over the last few years to find some of those exciting results. So very exciting moment. I'm using the word exciting a lot. For the audiovisual sector in Europe, Netflix is honored to be a part of it and build links with stakeholders. I would probably defer to Konstantinos on things like the incentive in Greece. As everyone so far has said, it's a critical component of the regulatory framework, not only in Greece, but internationally. Generally speaking, we find the reliability, the predictability, and transparency of something like a production incentive to be the key. We want to make sure, because planning a production is a very complex, very expensive, very time-consuming process, just to make sure that the process is as streamlined and as simplified as possible. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I would like to come to Giacomo Lev-Mannheimer. TikTok is another interesting case study, very different from what we have discussed so far. It's a social media platform that became successful very fast, rapidly, especially among the young people. But from it, emerging new forms of storytelling, novel distribution ways. So what is your perspective in what we are discussing now?
Thank you very much. And yeah, it's my first time as well in Delphi, and I really like it. That's a beautiful event, and this is a very beautiful panel of people that know much more than me this aspect. As you said, it's pretty weird in a way, to hear TikTok speaking about audiovisual. Certainly you wouldn't have heard these 5 years ago because TikTok wasn't existing 5 years ago. But in a way, I think this makes a lot of sense. TikTok, was built as a creativity enabler. This is really our mission. And, trust me, like every day we are reminded that our mission is to really inspire creativity. And the way we do that is really trying to democratize, in a way, the way in which, the production of audiovisual content is made. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the editing tool of TikTok, which is, let's say, the other part, not the consumption part, but really the way a TikTok video is made. Well, I mean, that editing tool that is in an app in any of your smartphones potentially is much, but I say much, much, much better than an entire troupe of not 50, but 20 years ago in the best, production agency in the world. And I mean, of course, this is a revolution, like a full revolution for the production of audiovisual content. And there is a thing that I would like to mention here, which probably is unknown to many of you, and this is that in 2022, we are among the official partners of the Cannes Film Festival, which again, is a pretty interesting stuff, because you could wonder, what are you guys doing at a Cannes Film Festival? And the reality is, we recently extended the length of TikTok videos to 10 minutes, and what we are doing is actually we are building a competition of short films made on TikTok, and that will be awarded during the Cannes Film Festival. And now, we are not, producing films, of course. Like, we don't do anything. We are a user-generated content platform. But the thing is, the content that gets produced every day on TikTok is so cool that even the Cannes Film Festival Commission understands that we can really bring value. And we can bring value to that industry, I think, on really the upper part of the funnel. That means, and I come back to what I was saying in the beginning, the way in which it's so democratic to upload content on TikTok and make it viral just because it's cool content, not because you have followers or any kind of, popularity outside the platform. But the fact that, it's so easy for great content to become viral on TikTok, that this really helps find talents and creators that are, that have really good ideas, and that only with our editing tool are able to really build, even a short film, and a great short film that can have success at international level, even, in an institutional event such as the Cannes Film Festival. So, this is a bit the way we are witnessing this revolution. And of course, we don't feel that our creators are broadcasters. We don't feel that we are producing films, but certainly, we are, taking a small part of this digital revolution of the creation, of the production, and also of the consumption of audiovisual content, which is, getting more and more consumed directly on the smartphone, on TikTok, on other platforms as well. And I mean, we want to really take a part on that, engaging with stakeholders and with institutions in the industry to really, again, do what we would like to do more, that is really inspire this creativity and enable more and more the creativity of people. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to welcome Konstantinos properly while he is here, actually. Konstantinos wears two hats here. First is as a secretary of the Independent Producers Association, and then as a producer himself with HERETIC. So I have a question for each one.
Yes, please.
First of all, how do the professionals in this country, but also in general, view the regulation, the EU regulation on audiovisual production? And the other one has to do with what can small local markets like Greece's, which is the audiovisual sector is 0.26% of GDP, which is very little, even compared to other countries without a tradition. What can they do to grow the local, let's say, ecosystem? You yourself have also won an award on your idea of cross-border production, so maybe that could be a leeway.
Big questions. First of all, I want to apologize for the delay. I'm coming straight from the set. We started production of a new film just today, so I'm literally straight from the shoot, which was a bit of a ride. And yes, what I want to say, the first question was about the European directive, right?
Sure.
Okay, so we have to live, I'm talking from the position also as the only entrepreneur in this line of people, and an entrepreneur in Greece, which is in itself can be a paradox. Greece has been part of the EU since 1981, as we all know. We have been using all the tools that the European audiovisual production system is providing for film producers, not just in Greece, but all over Europe. And film production, we have it internationally, by definition. There's no way of doing what without internationally, without being able to sit on the same table with people who are of the market. I mean, what they're doing is really bring a disruption in the good way the audiovisual market. With that, what is happening also use all the sophisticated tools that film producers need to have. At the same time, and okay, I don't want to make it specific to Greece, but we need to also function as business people here in this local place to cooperate with our authorities and the organizations that are there already. Help us in the EU, foreseeing new media are bringing either VOD platform, video on demand platforms like Netflix, or social media like TikTok, has basically created a new set of legislative directives to renew and update the European legislation on intellectual property rights on one hand, and on the quota of European content on these new content providers, which are now operating on European soil, like Netflix. We are still awaiting from, actually we have the representatives of the two ministers here. We're still awaiting for these directives to be implemented and incorporated in the Greek legislation. So looking forward to seeing both new legislations. And going on to the second question, which was, please remind me.
Which was about cross-border productions and what can local producers do to grow?
Okay, in a small
market, yeah.
Well, there's two things I want to point out, and I'm happy I'm here also because we have both Nicholas from the Ministry of Culture and Leonidas from the Ministry of Digital Affairs. There's two things that, I mean, we have these three big tools in Greece that we have been using traditionally as producers of audiovisual content, meaning film and TV drama, really. Drama not being dramatic films, but film fiction or documentary, not TV shows or news pieces and stuff like that. One has been the Greek Film Center, which is under the supervision of the Ministry of Culture, which is our local institution that is implementing the film policy and is also funding films. As far as this goes, I need to express the need for the fund to enlarge and start incorporating also TV production. Only last month in Strasbourg at the European Council, at the Council of Europe, Eurimage, which is the European Fund for Film Productions, decided to incorporate TV production also in its functions. So I think it's a good time for Greece to align also in that. For that to happen, however, the Greek Film Center will need more money. And this is something that I'm saying with precision, because it happens to be one of the poorest, if not the poorest fund right now in the EU. Then we have the production incentive, the cash rebate, which is handled and supervised by the Ministry of Digital Affairs, which has been a constant cry from the side of producers since I can remember myself in this business. We've been wanting these incentives to happen. We are very happy that they happen. In 2017, they were introduced by the previous government. The current government is very much supporting them, and we are very happy about that. However, I need to stress that this is a relatively young organization, and already we can see problems and weaknesses that are typical of the Greek public sector, such as bureaucracy, and lack of transparency also appearing there in such a young organization, and this needs to be taken care of. If we manage to make these two tools, one is a financial tool, an automatic incentive made to basically help the growth of the economy in the larger sense, and the local fund, which is our national policy maker for the audiovisual world, to work together, then we can have growth, real growth.
Great, thank you, Konstantinos, for your perspective, but also because you gave a perfect introduction for our next round.
Oh, good, good to know.
Of questions. So I would like to ask the Deputy Minister. You ended your first talk with an implication on policy, given what Konstantinos has said.
Yeah.
Would you elaborate on that?
Sure. So first of all, just to put one thing out of the way, I actually agree with Konstantinos that the GFC, the Greek Film Center, should expand to other forms other than films, and it's something that hopefully we will be able to work together also with Leonidas to make something stronger and better, like as an ecosystem to support this kind of production in Greece. So that's one thing. The other thing that I also agree with is that funding is not sufficient. There has been, it's like an elephant in the room. We all know that in Greece, we all know that the Greek Film Center has been underfunded consistently, and it's something that we're trying to see how we can change and how to improve. We have made structural improvements at the GFC. Now it's time to also see what kind of things we're going to do. So in that respect, what we're doing is we're utilizing for the time being funds from the RRF, the EU fund, to recover from the COVID pandemic. So we are approximately investing around 15 million to audiovisual, and that goes to skill building, upskilling, the creation of a new film school, but also things like investing in taking a bit of the risk away from the development of new films, but also developing an audiovisual cluster in the northern city of Drama, where the Short Film Festival is being held. And I think that this, together with a more active regulatory role, not in restricting, but actually to allowing things to happen by updating co-production agreements with other countries, by attracting investment to the country for the film industry, and by also protecting, again, in a good way, Greek content, in the sense that it's part of our heritage, and I think this could lead to the idea that Konstantinos was describing.
Great. So I would like now to come to Leonidas. You mentioned earlier that you're being always responsive, and yet many changes have been implemented in the incentive scheme. Also, you mentioned some skilling initiatives. So, could you?
Yes, first of all, regarding the skilling initiatives, it's just that we're going to work together with the Ministry of Culture, who is, of course, the competent ministry, in order to create upskilling and reskilling programs for people in the audiovisual sector, for crews and staff in the audiovisual sector, because as let me say, business is booming, let me put it that way, we will need more and better skilled people in the area of audiovisual. Regarding the ECOME and the cash rebate scheme, I need to say the following. One of our first legislative acts was, of course, to increase the cash rebate and simplify the way proposals are being approved and proposals are being paid, and include more forms of audiovisual in the cash rebate, like short films, which were not included, or documentaries, if I remember, of some sort, like short documentaries and things like that, that were not included as well. So in that sense, we try to open up the scheme. I said that we're being responsive because we meet with the Producers Association a lot of times. There have been problems, I wouldn't say of transparency so much as of bureaucracy and delays due to the fact that you had a small organization that started trying to deal with a lot of productions that were coming in Greece. And still, just last week, and Konstantinos can verify that, we passed a new legislation in order to outsource the audit that is being made when the film is over, so that we can skip the bureaucracy that is being part of the final stage of the auditing that was done inside the commerce structure. So now we can move forward and be able to audit the productions when they finish in a much more fast way. And that's why I said we're always being responsive, because we always listen to the market, we always listen to what the producers' associations or other stakeholders of the market have to tell us. And that is why I think that from now on, it's the situation, and I hope that Konstantinos will agree on that, will improve even more in this area.
Great, that's a good way to. So I would like to ask Giacomo if you can tell us, on another note, a few things on the trends of TikTok in Southern Europe and Greece. What's the most you can tell us?
Yeah,
and how it compares to other regions.
Yeah, so trends in TikTok are really, it's an interesting topic in the sense that I don't know how familiar this audience is with TikTok, but you really see that because of the creativity that is in TikTok.
All our nieces and nephews use it. All our nieces and nephews use it, so.
This is the usual answer any meeting they do, but yeah, there's another note. And it's really, the trends don't follow so much, the outer world. It's really, like things happen a lot on TikTok, and because trends
rapid.
really start on TikTok and then are in TikTok and keep being in TikTok. I can tell you that there are certainly two main things that are happening a lot in TikTok and then are particularly happening in Southern Europe. The first one is really like an enormous growth of entertainment content, which is something quite obvious for TikTok, but of the TikTok of the beginning, not anymore so much. If you open the US version of TikTok, you wouldn't find so much entertainment anymore, while this is really, really taking place in Southern Europe. And the second very big trend that is happening in Southern Europe is music. And this is by the way, another part of how the production and the consumption is changing. A song that was done for the first time, produced on TikTok, just won the first Grammy Award. It's crazy, but this in Southern Europe is really becoming a huge trend, and there are a lot of emerging, talents that are using TikTok as a way to promote their music. Again,
Great.
Because it's really democratic in the way it
Thank you
functions.
so much. So to wrap up, I would like to ask Alex if there are any. Because the market has skilling initiatives, if Netflix is implementing anything, and what should a country do to see local content in the platform?
Yeah, thanks, Elias. It's a great question. I think one of the things we're doing around Europe and really around the world at this stage, as a first step, we want to talk to organizations like SAPOE, the Producers Association, to really learn what is needed in the ecosystem. Netflix doesn't want to parachute in and say, here's the right talent initiative for Greece or Italy or Spain. We want to actually learn, where the shortages might be, where the opportunities might be. And those are some of the conversations we've been having in Greece this week, just to learn a little bit more about the state of affairs. We see a lot, due to the fact that we're kind of in a boom scenario right now in the audiovisual sector, there are shortages, and there are, different ways of producing a series on a service like Netflix than there would be to make a smaller film or a TV series for a broadcast customer. So there are lots of differences. There are lots of exciting ways that we can work with the audiovisual sector to explain the particularities of working with Netflix and other streaming services, but also to learn from the Producers Association and the audiovisual ecosystem so that we're doing things that are useful and relevant. So yeah, hopefully we'll have some exciting things to talk about in the next forum.
Great, thank you so much. So we'll have to wrap this up. We have like 13 seconds.
13 seconds. Can I say how excited I am to be with TikTok on the same panel?
Yeah, we all are
second.
because we feel younger in this way. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for a comprehensive discussion, and thank you so much for watching us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.